All right, welcome back everybody to Benzical Office Hours. This week's really exciting because we're going to be doing a live demonstration of a new design feature that Benzical just launched very recently, just about 2 weeks ago, and that is section shapes. Section shapes are really cool. So what these are, it gives you the ability to add like a brand new kind of design flair to your website. So let's take a look at what these are. Basically, when you're scrolling through your website, you have the different sections that are dividing up your content. So instead of just having necessarily kind of a straight line as you scroll down your site, as we're going to see here, dividing the content. So when you scroll down, this first little bit here is a section, right? So you have a section background color that you can apply. You have a section background image that you can apply. It's completely up to you how you want to design your sections for your content area. So as you scroll down with the section shapes, it gives you the ability to add this really cool design to the edges of the sections. So as you scroll up and down, it just gives it a little bit more of an interesting feel to it instead of having just a straight division between your different content sections as you're scrolling up and down your site. So what we're going to do today, just a really quick demonstration showing everybody how to use it. If you have any questions, I see the couple of people in here watching the live already. Feel free to say hi. Let me know your name in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Post a link to your website if you have one built with us already. If not, let me know what type of music you play, what type of music you're listening to now these days. Let me know in the chat over here. And if you have any general questions about Bandzoogle, if you have any general questions about design, about website design, about life as an independent musician, feel free to post your questions here in the chat as we go along here. It doesn't need to be related to section shapes necessarily. So what's really cool about these is that there's a whole bunch, there's basically 3 different pages, so to speak, of design shapes, like pre-designed shapes that you can choose from to apply to your sections. So we see here there's kind of, curved lines, which I have applied on this one. This is sort of like the default. So if you don't have a section shape applied, you're going to have that straight divider line applied to the top and bottom of your section by default. So instead, you have all these other different options that you can look at. So let me just switch the tabs over here and we'll take a look at how to use these in your Bandzoogle account. It's really simple. You're going to find them in the section settings. So let me bring up a test account here. So let's take a look at where we can find these. So by default, when you log into your Bandzoogle account, you're going to see this. This is going to be the home screen that you see when you first enter your login credentials and you log into your account. And then there's a series of tabs here across the top of the screen. Okay, so you have what's the home tab, edit content. Edit content's where you're going to go to add, remove content from pages of your website. It's where you're going to go to create new pages, delete pages, so on and so forth. Edit theme is where you're going to go to change your template or your theme, as we call it, change the colors for your specific template. So background colors and all that good stuff is going to be controlled there. Font colors and all that good stuff is going to be controlled there. And then you have different things like the back-end stuff, your selling tools, mailing lists, so on and so forth. But for today, we're just going to be concerned about the edit content tab. So we're going to click over here. And now we're going to see that we are looking at a preview of our website. And I chose some default colors for my different section styles. So I'll see the color divisions here as I scroll up and down. Those will all be controlled in the edit theme tab. We can take a look at that a little bit later, right after we see how to apply the shapes. And so as you scroll down here and you hover your cursor over one of your sections, you're going to see these blue buttons appear at the top of each section. There's going to be edit column, edit section. Edit column is where you can go to apply different column styles to your section here for adding content to. So it can be 1 column, 2 with, I lost the screen there. 2 with sort of like a left sidebar. So that means the left column is going to be a little bit more narrow than the right one, or vice versa. Or you can do a 3 column layout where you're going to have 3 separate different columns that you can add content into as you go. Okay. So if you go to section settings or edit section here, then you'll see all the section settings here on the left. And so this is where you can, show a title on the section. So let's say in this case, it's the default title I have there is about, because I would be putting a bio in here. So you can hide that title. You can turn it on if you'd like. And there's all the other good section settings here. But the one that I'm concerned about is shape. So you'll find it right near the top here. There's a little blue new sticker next to it. And if you click on shape, then you're going to have all the different options of what you can apply to this section. So whatever shape you select is going to get applied to the bottom of your section. So as I scroll down here, I'm going to see it's going to be along this orange line along the bottom there is where the shape's going to get applied to. And I can scroll up and down and I'll see that there's 3 different pages that I could go through. So you can click on these little circles down here and there's 3 different pages of different shapes that I can browse through. So the first little page here is you're going to have sort of more straight angles. You're going to have those up first. So if I want to have, you know, going on an upward slope here to the right or a downward slope to the right, these are 2 options you can choose from: a downward arrow, upward arrow, something with a little bit more of a curve and a point to it. And then once you get to the bottom, you get to the bit more abstract shapes like a paper tear kind of thing. On the second page here, you're going to have more curvy options. So wavy line, different style wavy lines you can choose from, something that's more like a bottom of a ribbon, like this one here, like a ribbon banner. And then these that involve a little bit more transparency, which are pretty cool. So different like transparent wavy lines. This one here where it's more of just like a paint swipe. Again, here more of just like a brush stroke kind of thing and a different form of that. So there's a lot of different options you can choose from. All super easy to apply. You just select the one that you want. You click the orange apply button. And whenever you're done here, you can click save. And then that section shape will be applied. And so if I click on view site, obviously I don't have any content on this test site here just yet. But if I scroll down, I'll see that that shape was applied to my live site. Right, which is super easy. It's a really, really quick way to add some design flair to your website. Get a little bit, play around with it, get creative, have fun with it. What I would recommend would be not mixing too many different styles of shapes together, or else it's going to get a little messy. For example, if I'm going with this sort of brush stroke shape style here, then I'll want to stick with the ones that are kind of similar instead of going for a straight downward vertical line like this on the next one. It just looks like a little bit too mix and match. It's not cohesive enough, let's say. It's not really consistent. So maybe I'll just, if I'm going to choose one of the brush stroke styles, then I'll stick with those moving forward and maybe choose a different version of that like this. See? One of those other paint brush stroke styles. So it just fits in a little bit better and it keeps a consistent look all the way through. And you can apply it to every single one of your sections. Really easy. So another thing that I would recommend here to get the maximum sort of pop out of your section shapes would be to keep a high contrast in your section colors that you have one on top of each other. What I mean by a high contrast is like black on white, white on black would be 100% contrast. So anything close to that would be high contrast. So a dark color on a light color, or vice versa, light color on a dark color. And what that's going to do is it's just going to let the colors pop a lot more. And I'll show you what it looks like if we don't do something like that. So let me go down to my section styles here in my edit theme tab. In the edit theme tab, again, is where you can go to change all your background colors. So we come down here and eventually you'll see section style 1, and we'll have 1, 2, and 3 below it. So you can save up to 3 different styles that you can apply to a section of content. And a style just basically means everything that you see here. It's colors. So it's sort of like 3 different color palettes that you can save. And then in the section settings, you can go in and apply one of those styles to any one of your sections. So that's how you would control the background colors. And so it keeps it consistent too, because if you save 3 different color palettes, then it sort of guarantees you're not going to have this giant mismatch of different random colors. It helps you sort of maintain a consistent branding across the pages of your site. And then you can kind of alternate the 3 different styles. Like this one, section style 1, I have an orangey background color set. Section style 2, I have a white background. The third one, I have a red color. And if you're curious, one thing that I recommend to people when it comes to putting together the color scheme for your site, I always recommend whatever your header image, the main image is that you're going to be using at the top of your site, all these colors are pulled from the header image. What that does is it just keeps this kind of like cohesive color scheme to the whole site, and it makes it feel well planned out. So this kind of orange is taken directly from the picture. The white, of course, is taken from there as well. And this kind of like dark reddish color is taken from here as well. And so when you combine these 3, when you look at the site as a whole, it's going to be this really nice sort of cohesive design. Okay, so when we talk about the high contrast for the section styles, let me show you what I mean. So section style 1, I have this orange background. So because section style 2 for me is a white background, this sort of like paint splatter swipe effect that you see here is really sharp and really clear because it's a darker color on white on a lighter color. Okay. So then you have really high contrast. Michael, I'm curious if there's any risk of Bandzoogle shutting down an artist's website, meaning are there content moderators? Um, Michael, we don't shut down a website unless we get a report that there was content that violated our terms and conditions. If you're curious about the terms and conditions, that's available at bandzoogle.com. You can find that there. It's pretty straightforward and common sense what would violate terms and conditions, but we don't moderate website content. If we come across something, just so happens, like our customer support team, if they come across something that they realize really obviously violates terms and service, then that might get reported. But in general, we don't moderate content unless there's a report, like some kind of complaint about it. That answers question. So when we talk about high contrast here, again, so the dark orange on white, what I want to show you is, let's say this wasn't white. So I'll go down to my section style 2 and I'll choose a darker color. So let's say this was something a little bit closer to that orange. See, like something like this. Oh, I had a good one there. Why don't I change it? Yeah, something like this. Okay. Then that effect is just going to be minimized a little bit. You're still going to be able to see it, but it's just not going to be as effective. So to really get the most out of these shapes, try and order your different sections with the background colors so that there is like a big difference in the color level, the color brightnesses from one section to another. So dark to light, dark to light. And then you see here that white to red. Again, it makes for a really interesting visual contrast. If that white to red was, let's say this was something even like super close to white, let's say it was like this, right? That would just be a lot less interesting visually, unless this was your branding sort of like white and light gray, and those were the colors you wanted to go with, and so it's kind of unavoidable. But if it is avoidable and you want to stick with colors that are from section to section that offer a lot more contrast like that. Okay. Yeah, no problem, Michael. Yeah. Yeah. Again, so if you are curious about it, you can check out, again, the terms and conditions are available at bandzoogle.com. You can check them out there. It lets you know. Hey, Rod. Yeah, no problem. Joining late. No problem at all. Yeah, so you can watch the replay of this, Rod. So pretty much as soon as the live is done in a couple of minutes here, you can go back and rewatch everything that we were talking about before. So it's basically just a demonstration going over how to use the new section styles and section shapes, which are really, really awesome and give you a really good opportunity to revamp your website. So I have a cool example here to show. Let's get out of here. Okay. Rod, yeah, if anybody else in here, we have a couple of people in here right now. Again, let me know your name. Let me know where you're from. If you have any questions at all about Bandzoogle, if you have any questions at all about design, putting together your website, any of the features that we offer, don't be shy. Say hi in the chat, and we can check that out. So if there's any questions about section shapes or using sections at all, now would be the time. You could post those up in here. Another thing that I did want to show, let's take a look here, is image shapes. So we just launched the new section style shapes, but we have image shapes as well. So what does that mean? Let's take a look. So if you add an image through an image feature, so let's go back to our edit content tab. So if you're just adding any kind of photo to a page, so let's go add feature. I'm going to add an image. Choose my image feature. There we go. And let's say this is the one that I'm going to be adding. Let's pop it on the page right here. Now you are going to see image shapes here as well. And so if you click on image shapes, it's kind of the same concept. So you're going to have multiple options of shapes that you can choose from to apply to your image. So in a 3-column layout like this, it looks a little bit small. But let's say if I go back and actually I'm just going to switch this over to a 1-column layout, just so that image pops a little bit more. Let's get the image back in there just so we can see what we're doing. Here we go. So image shape. So there's different categories. If you just stay on shape, it's going to have all of them kind of together. There's rounded options that you can scroll through here. So if you want to add sort of like a rounded edge rectangle or a circle, you can do that as well. So tons of cool options here, depending on the branding of your site, depending what you want to do with your graphics. There's a lot of different options. There's kind of like mosaic patterns that you can apply over your images as well, which depending on the look and design of your site can be really cool. And then just sort of like rounded or sharp edged shapes here. It's great. And that's a new shape option. So those apply to sections and those apply to the image feature as well. So definitely make use of those on your site if you haven't already. Thanks for popping in. Really quick live chat. We do this every Thursdays. They go for about 20 minutes or half an hour. We cover a different topic every week. And if you miss these, you can always watch the replay. So we try and go over questions that members have about either marketing your music online, how to use the different features of Bandzoogle, so on and so forth, and then field any questions that people have. Keep an eye on the channel. We do post weekly on the channel as well with videos with tips and tricks on how to keep your music career moving, your independent music career moving along nicely, and how to keep your website nice and fresh and use all the design and e-commerce tools that Bandzoogle has to offer. Thanks for everybody who joined us here today and popped in. Keep an eye on the channel for more. Right before I go, Rob. Oh, no problem, Rob. Thanks for popping in at all. Interest in refreshing your website. Okay, well, definitely try out the section shapes here. If you want, as soon as this live is done in just a couple of minutes, it'll pop up on the channel as a replay. You could probably even just rewind this live if you want to right now and just go back to the go back to the beginning, Rob. I think that's how it works. So you don't have to wait till it's done. You can just rewind on the timeline now. You could go back and check and see, give a little walkthrough of how the new section shapes work. So go give those a look. And yeah, if you have any questions, Rob, you can either let our support team know or you can post in the comments down below. I see the comments anytime they're posted. Can you adjust the size of images in one column? Ooh, good question. So if you grab the corners of an image like this, so you see they have what's called the bounding box here along the outside of the image. So when it's in one column like this, you can just click and hold the corner, and you can click and drag it to resize it when it's in one column. So absolutely, yeah, you have total control and freedom over how you resize your images. And even if there's a shape applied, whatever the shape might be, that doesn't restrict you from still being able to go in and resize them as well, which is really great. Great question, Rob. All right. Thanks for popping in, everybody. If you have any questions, again, post in the comment section down below. I'll get back to you ASAP. Do get notifications when people post comments there, so you can interact that way. Or you can jump into live chat with our support team. There's 0 wait time in live chat. So if it's open, you can jump in and talk to somebody right away. Oh, Bobby. Found these sessions really helpful. One thing to be helpful is more control of text sizes, spacing, and formats. Yeah. So Bobby, that is an interesting comment. I would be curious to know, can you let me know exactly what you're looking to do? Because let's take an example here. If I go into, let's get out of my image options here. So here I have a text feature. So if I click on the text feature, I can definitely, there's sort of like presets, the regular presets that you find in any kind of word processor. So you have different like heading styles that are preset styles. So you have heading 1, 2, or title. Those are all available to you there. One thing I would recommend doing be clicking on more, like I just did there. And if you click on more, then it's going to open up sort of like a separate text editor that you can play around with. If you are having trouble changing the size of text, like here, let's say you're going from heading 1 to title and it's not doing anything, or if you're going with these preset size options, I know what you mean in terms of like not being able to enter like a PX size, like a 12, 13, 14 point size, for your text. I understand what you mean. And there are reasons for that because there's sort of like set sizes that work well on websites. So we have a lot of these presets that are kind of programmed in, and there are, 1, 2, 3, 4 size options there, plus these different size options. So in total, you have about 8 different variations that you can choose from for size options. And in general, those give you everything you would need for body text. You don't want body text that's going to be anything bigger than the huge size here. Like this is pretty massive. And in general, you probably don't want body text that's going to be any smaller than the small, or else it's going to be really hard to read. Anything beyond that, Bobby, what I would recommend is if you're having trouble, this is something that comes up in customer support a lot. So maybe this is something you ran into. If you're having trouble changing the look of your text, and just a little tip for anybody who's watching, you can highlight it and click the TX button here, which is kind of like the universal symbol for removing formatting. And what that does is it removes any extra formatting that might be on the text, any extra HTML code that might be on the text, which happens if you're copying and pasting in text from somewhere else, like a different website or a Word document or something. There can be sort of extra code that comes along with it. So if you're having trouble getting the text to do what you want it to do, try highlighting it all here and clicking the TX button. What that does is it defaults it back to whatever the default content font settings are that you set in your edit theme tab, and you should be able to customize it from there. Great question, Bobby. Thanks for that. All right. Well, everybody, thanks again for popping in, and let us know if you have any other questions. And we do these lives once a week, so keep an eye open for those. And we do post on the channel regularly. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button to get the weekly advice videos and walkthroughs of Bandzoogle. Hey, my pleasure, Bobby. Thanks for coming in, and take care, everybody, and have yourself a great evening. Later.